Hi there. If you're traveling to a place like Southeast Asia, you know probably that it's very, very hot and humid. But do you know exactly what to pack? Well, today's video, I'm going to show you how I pack as a 55-year-old man doing a single solo trip. So come along with me and let me show you all the things that are necessary that I think as part of my agenda when I get out. Hi, I'm Vincent from Tired to Retire, and today we are T-1 to Southeast Asia. Right now, I'm going to be packing all my things up to be able to go to Thailand and then to Vietnam. I have a whole set of excursions set up, not necessarily by any company, but what I designed for myself, which is a lot of island hopping. So what I'm going to show you is exactly the things that I think are required for that kind of environment, and also to remain comfortable while there. So let's get into it. The first things that you guys need is obviously all your paperwork. And so what I've done is I actually bought this thing on Etsy, but I keep all my passports. This is money, any kind of identification. But the key thing is you need centralization of all your information. I think that's a common sense thing. But when I travel, typically my wife takes care of all this stuff. So now it's on me. Make sure to keep everything in one place because you don't want to be fumbling around in your bags to find your passport or very, very important documentations. As long as you know that you keep it in one place, you know that you can always go back to it. You want to have comfortable clothing as you're traveling. And for me, the most important thing in terms of comfortable clothing are things that are kind of a wick-away fabric. So for example, there's a lot of now new better textiles out there. Merino wool is probably the best, but when it comes to like things like underwear or even sportswear, I like this wick-away fabric. And wick-away fabric typically has qualities that allow you to, as you're doing your activities. So keep that in mind. When it comes to everyday wear, I'm only carrying 3 pairs of shorts. And they're kind of still, they're like golfing shorts. And the reason I do that is because, one is, you can wear your shorts over and over again as long as they're not dirty and stinky. The other thing also is there is laundry facilities in probably the area I'm going to be. I would highly recommend when you go out there to get laundry type of facilities. And also in Thailand, they have a lot of laundry places you can take things to. And it's very inexpensive. So my plan is just to carry enough so that I can get through the week, and anything that becomes soiled, put to the side, I'm gonna put it to the laundry. The other thing also is when it comes to the shirts, I said before, I carry a lot of these kind of athletic shirts. I don't use this for athletic wear because that's the kind of things that I don't do, but again, those shirts are, they make the sweat come out of you very quickly and they wick away. So for example, in Jiu-Jitsu, we have these things when we do Jiu-Jitsu, they're called rash guards. And rash guards are typically for like surfers, but the rash guard fabric is a wick away. Basically, the sweat doesn't get absorbed in the fabric. And you want something like that. You want fabrics that, like cotton is not great. It will absorb your sweat, and during the day, if you have a backpack on, you will be drenched. And it's very uncomfortable feeling. So keep that in mind. When you're traveling is not to have too much cotton-based fabric. I think the polyester rayon type style is perfect. When it comes to going out at night, you definitely want to be comfortable, but also stylish. I personally love these types of shirts that are like they're Bermuda type shirts. And here's an example of one. You know, these short sleeve shirts, they're almost like grandpa shirts. But I love them because they are stylish enough, very comfortable and airy. They can typically match with anything. And in a climate like Thailand, you don't want to be wearing like very heavy type clothing. Any form of clothing that's going to retain heat, definitely want to stay away from. Especially on rooftop bars, if you've ever been to one, there's a lot of air up there and it's a lot of breeze. So, you know, maintain the balance of style versus utility, because when it's hot and humid, you don't want to be in a situation where you're just constantly feeling uncomfortable. Okay, so now the other thing also is, let's talk about medication. So medication is very, very important. And I'm sure if those of you may have your own medical type requirements. You have to check on the website on what things are not allowed. Obviously, opiates are not allowed. But if you have prescription drugs, check on there's a website, and I'll put that in the link below, that you can check what things that you can check in. I have certain kinds of medication that I require, but those are prescription type drugs. Let's talk about non-prescription over the counter that I think is absolutely important. So, to me, these are called loperamide hydrochloride tablets. This is diarrhea pills. Absolutely important. I've had this, I just recently came back from a trip in Mexico, and it happened. So these things helped a lot. I've only got 2 today. I'm actually going to go and get some more. You should definitely bring when you buy a box, you should bring the entire carton. Not the carton, but 1 sleeve. Second thing is also, these helped a lot too. Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer, you know, here in the United States you can get Pepto-Bismol, but these I found, I mean, these have been around forever. This really helps a lot, especially in a pinch. You can carry this with you. It's very, very portable. You just carry it in your bag, and you just, whenever you need it, you just pop it out and bring it along. So Alka-Seltzer is very important. The other thing also, I carry some Gas-X. There's one thing here that I do not have, which is Claritin. For some reason, we were just on a recent trip, I started breaking out. And I was really uncomfortable because it was like almost hives. I don't know what was causing it, but the Claritin did help. So this is something we've learned over time, is to stock this stuff for our children. But these things actually helped me, and especially as an older person, you don't want to be going to a foreign country where you don't know the language and trying to use Google Translate when you're really very uncomfortable. However, having said that, in Thailand and Vietnam, I don't know much about Vietnam yet, but I know in Thailand, they have everything pretty much over the counter. Even a lot of these prescription drugs are over the counter. So bear that in mind, but this is for an emergency stopgap. You don't want to be in a situation where you are somewhere like on an excursion, or maybe there isn't a pharmacy. You want to have these things along so you have them ready to roll when you need them. You know, obviously there's some things here that I require. I like melatonin. This is going to help me the day I'm on the airplane. Also when I'm there. The time zone difference, this is what I always use when I was traveling internationally. Melatonin is the best, but it's also very, very healthy for you too. I actually use this every day, and it really puts you in a good sleep. Magnesium as an older guy is probably a good thing to do as well. Magnesium is very good. It relaxes your body substantially. Okay, you know, this actually passed TSA on a carry-on luggage, so I know that this is going to go through. So I carry this. This is some cologne, and yeah, I don't wear a lot, but sometimes you need that. Sunscreen is definitely something very important. Apparently, over in Asia, first of all, this is 50 SPF. No, I'm sorry, 30 SPF. I should get 50 SPF. I have some, but I just to characterize the point, get sunscreen here in the United States. It's cheaper, and you don't. Apparently over there, they don't have a lot of it for some reason. This is what I'm told. I don't know personally myself, but having seen some other videos, I do know that sunscreen is absolutely important, especially there. It's hot and humid, and there's a lot. It's so sunny, and as you get older, you know, making sure that you have proper protection against UV is absolutely important, especially for older people, because now your skin is not regenerating quickly. This is something that this is a personal decision to bring for me. This is flushable cleaning wipes with witch hazel. And essentially, if you know what preparation H is, these things are very, very useful. Over there in Thailand, I know that they have Western style toilets. They also have these things called bum guns, which are absolutely important. In France, they're called bidets. I have them also in my house, in our house, but there are places publicly maybe you don't have that. These things are absolutely lifesavers. You just bring this along with you in your backpack, and anytime you need to do your constitution, you have something that will make the whole experience a lot more comfortable. So that's something I would bear in mind. This is just something I packed along with just in case. These are wipes, baby wipes. You never know when you need something, especially if you go out to eat and maybe you feel like it's not as sanitary. These things help a lot. This is something that you can choose to bring or not. I had this recent situation down in Mexico. The water was making me a little ill. And so I bought these filters off of Amazon, water filters. They're essentially like life straws if you go hunting or camping. But essentially what it is it has a top. It has a apparatus to put a Western style, like a Dasani bottle. And you just sip through here. It's got a reverse osmosis, a bunch of filters, and I think a set of other components in here to purify the water, but it's 99%, you'll get 99% pure water through this. These are lifesavers, especially because in Thailand I hear the water is not potable. But regardless of that, your Western stomach, for example, the bacteria the good bacteria in your stomach can't process some of the bacteria over there. That's why you get sick. So to me, this is absolutely essential, especially if you're eating outside and they offer you water. This is something I want to keep along with me. Okay, so everybody knows what air tags are. I got one called a Chipolo. I've got one, I used to put this on my cats, but I'm putting this in my luggage, and I have another one in my backpack. I think it's very, very important. I just saw a recent thing happen in Italy with a lady. Her passport got stolen, and she was able to find the pickpockets because she had a Find My AirTag. So these technologies are much better. Unfortunately, they do require Bluetooth, so I think they use some technology where they attach to Bluetooth devices somehow anonymously, but they publish the data through GPS somehow. It's quite amazing technology. However, one of the things I'm thinking about, and this is something you may want to think yourself, our pets have this device called Tractive, and Tractive uses a cellular network as well as Bluetooth. So I don't know how that will work. I think it may be only a US-based device, but you definitely need to have tracking devices on your luggage and any kind of personal items, especially like if you have things that are very important, like money and passports. Okay, so on to electronics. So here's something that I think is absolutely important that you need to carry. Nowadays, with all of the internet, everything is public internet, but the spoofing and phishing capabilities of bad actors has gotten very sophisticated. So I used this just recently. It's a portable router, but it's called the Barrel AX. I bought this on Amazon. It's very, very small. What it does is it can function as a full-blown router in your home, but what it also does is it functions as a repeater. And what a repeater does is it takes the IP from the hotel, and then it creates its own network that is secure for you. Now, the other thing I did with this is I bought a subscription to NordVPN so that I could have US-based presence, so that it looks like I'm in the United States, but it's actually coming from Thailand. So what that does for me is I could create the VPN here, and then I have my VPN on my home router attaching to that VPN so that the entire thing is like one network. So actually what I'm planning to do is, and this is something you need to bear in mind, if you have a cell phone in the United States, getting SMS messages is going to be probably impossible. I tried that down in Mexico. It is very hard. You need a SIM service in the United States, and you need to have some way to be able to get those messages, especially if you're doing something like banking that sends you the code. So there's one option you can use called Mighty Text, but you need a phone to reside here in the United States. But what it does is, if this phone is here, it gets the message, it publishes it to the web. The other thing is, what I was thinking was that solution. The other option, obviously, well, not obviously, but is a great solution, I'm actually going to maybe try and get it going today, is Google Voice. And what that allows you to do is you can forward your phones to Google Voice, and then all of the cell phone service and SMS messages are going to aggregate to Google Voice, but using your cell phone number. So it's called porting your number. It's an option in Google Voice. Check it out. Something to definitely consider, that maybe you don't need a cell service. You can just buy a data plan and then just use Google Voice for any kind of voice calling, that kind of thing. Other thing is sunglasses. Definitely need those. I'm sure there's sunglasses over there. I saw a lot of cheap knockoffs over there, but obviously these are real Ray-Bans. I don't know what real really means these days. They're, to me, as long as the tolerance of build is correct, I think it's fine. Finally, camera equipment. As you know, I'm doing YouTube, and so what I plan to do is document a lot of that. Bring in my Action Pro Insta360. This is the action camera. The camera you're watching right now is my G7X. Planning to bring that, but I just bought another one called the Nikon DX30. So I'm really debating what to bring. However, having said that, the thing about YouTubing is that as you're trying to document stuff, you're gonna have all this junk along with me. And this is what I'm thinking through right now in my brain, is how am I gonna bring all this stuff with me? Well, that just led me to, I was gonna bring a regular rollerboard carry-on, but now I'm thinking that the best thing to do is bring a larger suitcase where I can actually put everything centralized in just one camera bag. And so that's one thing I'm thinking about as I'm going through this. Just to let you know, I'm planning to bring only 2 pieces of luggage. I'm planning to bring an Air travel pack. It's the extra large one, 35 liter travel pack by Air, A-E-R. And then also a regular rollerboard, but it's a slightly medium-sized rollerboard. This is something that you will have to check in. Thankfully, I get 2 free check-ins on the airplane, but I don't want to utilize that. I want to be as mobile as possible. And one of the things over in Thailand as well as in Vietnam I've seen is there's so many scooters, and you can rent, even on the islands, you can rent scooters. The problem is as soon as you get off the ferry, you got to carry all this junk with you. So this is going to be an interesting episode. I want to see what happens over there. So I'm going to bring this larger rollerboard with me, but I would prefer not to. If I could, I would probably have things like in backpacks, but that even also seems cumbersome, because if you've ever seen some of these YouTubers, they're like carrying as if they're like, you know, that's their reserve parachute or something. It looks very awkward. Okay, and then finally, I don't know, one of the things I talk about a lot is setting up your retirement. And this is just something that I plan to do as a fun thing. I'm actually going to document it for you. But shout out to my boys over at Elevate Jiu-Jitsu, to Joey and Nick. I've been training with them for a number of years at Henzo Gracie's here in New Jersey. They started their own gym. And I plan to go to Carpe Diem Jiu-Jitsu and also just have some fun and see how jiu-jitsu is in the rest of the world. You know, one of the things about retiring or whatever is that you got to have your hobbies. But what I love about like things like golf or, you know, even jiu-jitsu is anybody in the world plays these games. And even I think pickleball too. So that's the things that I find very fun about certain activities, that as you're setting up your retirement, try to find things where it's like transferable to other countries. And I know now jiu-jitsu is a worldwide phenomena, and it's a lot of fun. I'd highly recommend. It's great for your health, and so I would, you know, suggest doing it. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about is a cell phone. This is my Samsung S25. I love this thing. It's got a great camera. It can do stuff with ad hoc video recording, but on top of which, the thing you need the most over in another country is an eSIM. And these devices, this is an unlocked phone. I can use this anywhere in the world. But unlocked phones, you got to make sure when you leave, if your phone is like Verizon or AT&T and you bought it from them, chances are it's not unlocked. You have to get the unlock pin, because when you get over there, it will not operate, even if you get a SIM. So I've looked around, and if you look here on this chart, and I'll put it up here, it turns out there's a number of options you can choose here in the United States before you go. There's Saley and Airalo. I just used Airalo, worked out great. I bought a 2 gig plan. I didn't even use all of it. Even my daughter, I bought her a 3 gig, figuring she's gonna do all this Roblox. But you can buy it here in increments, and a 1 gig plan is like $4, and it's kind of you just use it until it runs out. But over in Thailand, AIS seems to be their main provider, and they have unlimited plans. And if you look at the amount of data that you possibly are going to be using, especially if you don't have Wi-Fi if you're not in your like apartment or a hotel, if you don't have the Wi-Fi, you're going to be using mobile data. So bear that in mind. I heard that it's cheaper to use AIS when you're there, but as a stopgap, it's not very expensive. $4 for a 1 gig plan. You can just use it, get over there. At least you'll have it to get the Uber, and then just use it until you don't need it, and then just go to the AIS store, which is what I'm planning to do when I get there, is to go to the mall, get the SIM, see how much that costs. I'll do a video about that too. It's going to be a short one, but these are important things because the communication device is now absolutely important. If you cannot call a Grab or the Uber or whatever the heck it is that you need to do, even like your friends, if you're going with friends and you need to message them, I would highly suggest getting Airalo or Saily. Saily seems like to be the best, what they're saying in terms of price. Okay, so basically the cost is this follow. You get a SIM card and you have to get a phone number. And basically the best one for 30 days is 50 gigabyte at 900. And this is AIS. They don't give any just data only plans, just like Airalo or Saily. So something to consider. That's AIS. So let's go over to True. We're going to go over to True right now and check them out. Okay, then at True, basically they have this Tourist Infinite SIM, 8 days, 500 baht, another one, 15 days, 60.99 baht, and then the equivalent one like the AIS one, 30 days, 1990, 11, 12.99, I'm sorry, 1,199 baht. And that's, you get 100 Thai baht for calling, Wi-Fi, and 5G. I'm planning to communicate with my family here in the United States using KakaoTalk, which is the Korean version of WhatsApp. But here in the United States, you can use WhatsApp as well. Google Voice is great as well because also Google Voice can work with the VPN and you can do messaging to the United States with people in the United States, as long as the VPN has servers in the United States. And I've actually tried it and used it and it works great. The other thing also is with Google Voice is any kind of two-factor authentication with SMS, change it to your Google Voice number so that you can get all of those authentication codes coming to Google Voice. I had that problem just recently when I'm doing some bank transfers. It's been a nightmare because I couldn't work on it for a week, and I finally started switching everything over and it's functioning fantastic. So bear that in mind. That's it for today. I hope you find this useful. As an older guy, traveling is a little bit different now because we're so used to probably our wives packing for us. I know my wife, she's an expert packer and she does everything and I got to do it all by myself. But that's going to be the deal. And then finally, let me just show you this is the Air travel pack. It's the 35 liter. I love this thing. It's gotten great reviews. There's another one called Packed. And Packed has very similar type of design. It's crowdfunded by some firm, but I bought one for my son. Personally, I like the Packed. It's nicer looking. It has better, colors because all I have is black on this thing and orange, which is nice. But I bought my son a nice blue one, and I actually prefer his. So that's it for today. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. I know I've kind of blasted through a few things, but bear in mind, the main key components is be comfortable, be mobile, and make sure that the cost of weight versus practicality are matching, because that's really what it boils down to. A lot of this stuff, if you're traveling around, running around like I'll be doing,